Tissa Leva Madia Leva Tita Yomia Piotavare Eri Nabarega Shivai Dukkha Sajja and Surya Sajja Loki Tissa Napa Lokiya Sajja Teni Wata Sajja Piotavare Jantisa Napa Guru Lokutra Sajja Teni Uwata Sajja Piotavare Eri Napainega Shivai Tissa Napa Lulu Yapmava Nobai Tissa Napa Lulu Mahokabu Papilu Lesera Shivai Tissa Napa Tinshava the Ludaima Shini Vare Nobai Tissa Napa Riya Bukuri Mother Tinshava Riya Buku Mahutira Bukuri Kutanama Lagudra Sajja Mapsipo Devabu Tegelu Trutanama Pipo Leve Lagudra Tissa Napa Shudite Dea Mahopavu Shulu Leve Chizu Mashivabu Shivaini the K Panchadiyama Perina Paya Magaro Dukkha Sajja Napa Dukkha Sajja Surya Sajja Di Napa Tabe Alup Shibaba Rahunia Chinju Pyotavare
Syara explained the day before yesterday, Syara was preaching on Four Noble Truths in brief. So among those Four Noble Truths, as Syara explained, there are a group of former two and a group of latter two. So in the former two, they are of Samudaya, Dukkha Sajja and Samudaya Sajja. That is the truth of suffering and the truth of the cause of suffering, and they are equivalently also termed as Vata. And the remaining or the latter two are, these are called Vivutta Sajja. These remaining two are not to be walked through your meditation practice, but for the former two, cause of suffering and the suffering, it always exists in each and every one. So that's why we have to walk out through these two truths. As for the latter two, they belong to Lokuttara, that is the supramundane, and the former two are within the field of mundane. So as for the supramundane, for the Ariya, or only the noble who have reached to the Ariya stage, they have these two types of two types of noble truth or Vivutta Sajja, and they are also not to be noted. So Syara explained, only to the two former parts, that is Dukkha Sajja and Samudaya Sajja, only these two should be noted, and in brief Syara have touched on the day before yesterday.
Vata Tissa Naparega Dukkha Sajja Sura Mimi at the Kulung Well La Lokmatala Luevare Tuya Sajagara to go Longpa Shin needed Mimuchamu Namusamu Timu Sashi account him Tayada Tameta Swelanda Memora Era Samudaya Sajja Jansa Pyotavare
Sarah explained the Vutta or the Dukkha Satya to understand more clearly. This Dukkha Satya or the truth of suffering is the whole of you. So if you remember like that, it will be easier for you. And for Samudaya Satya, that is the cause of the truth of suffering, is whenever we encounter from the sense of seeing, hearing, smell, etc., because we thought all are pleasurable, so we crave for it, we like it, we attach to it, and we cling to it.
လွယ်ဆုံးနည်းနဲ့ဒုက္ခသစ္စာသမုဒယသစ္စာဖြစ်ပုံပြောရမယ်ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်တော့ဆိုကြပါစို့ဝမ်းပိုက်ကဖောက်မှုပိန်မှုပေါ့ပိတ်ဖောက်တာဟာဒုက္ခသစ္စာတစ်ခုပိန်လာလဲဒုက္ခသစ္စာတစ်ခုအဲ့ဒါလေးဒီသူတို့ဖြစ်စေမှာလက်ပြီးတော့ရှုရဒုက္ခသစ္စာကိုသိတာပဲဖောက်မှုဒုက္ခသစ္စာလည်းသိနိုင်တယ်ပိန်မှုဒုက္ခသစ္စာလည်းသိနိုင်တယ်ဘုရားမြတ်စွာဟောကြားတဲ့အတိုင်းဒုက္ခပရိနိယဆိုတာကဒုက္ခသစ္စာတရားကိုရှုပြီးပိုင်ခြားသိရပဲဆိုတာပါလေသိအောင်လိုက်ပြီးတော့လည်းပဲမှတ်နေရတာပါ
So Sarah explained in a simplest form to understand Dukkha Satya, that is the truth of the suffering, is whenever we focus our mind on the rising and falling, one rising as we note, this is one Dukkha Satya. One falling as we note, equivalently, it is also Dukkha Satya. So to the present occurrences, if we note, we will come to understand the nature of Dukkha Satya, whether it is rising Dukkha Satya or maybe the falling Dukkha Satya. As we note immediately to these objects, we will come to know. So as expounded by the Lord Buddha, Sarah explained that to come to understand this Dukkha Satya, we have to focus on these present occurrences and we will come to understand distinctively.
ဘောင်းကိပင်ကိစ္စမှာထင်ရှားတဲ့ဒုက္ခသစ္စာဟာမြင်နိုင်ကြလို့နဲ့နေတယ်ဆိုတာကဒီလိုပါဘောင်းတဲ့ခိတ်ပင်တဲ့ခိတ်တာမှာဘောင်းမှုပိန်မှုရဲ့တရားလို့ဆိုရတဲ့ဝမ်းပိုက်ကြီးရတာစန္ဌာနပညာခေါ်ပါတယ်ပုံတန်ထံပညာပေါ့လေပုံဟောလိုက်ပင်လိုက်ဆိုတာကအချင်းရအာကာရပညာလို့ခေါ်ပါတယ်သူလည်းပဲပုံရုပ်ဟန်ရုပ်ဆိုတာပေါ့လေဒီထဲမှာပါနေပါတယ်တကယ်တော့သူဟာရုပ်အစစ်မဟုတ်ပါဘူးရုပ်အစစ်ကတော့ဖောက်ကိုက်မှာတောင်းလိုက်တင်းလိုက်လှုပ်လိုက်ပိန်ကိုက်မှာယော့သွားလိုက်လှုပ်သွားလိုက်တာတောင်းတင်းလှုပ်ရှားရွေသွားတဲ့သဘောအဲ့ဒါကမှဒါရုပ်တရားအစစ်ပါရုပ်တရားအစစ်ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ဒါပရမတ္ထမျက်မှောက်အားဖြင့်သိရမယ်ပရမတ္ထတရားအစစ်ပါအဲ့ဒီပရမတ္ထတရားအစစ်စစ်မှဒုက္ခသစ္စာထဲမှာပါပါတယ်ဒါတော့ဝမ်းပိုက်ဆိုင်ပြီးတော့ဖုံးပိတ်မှုမှတ်ပါဆိုရင်တခါတခါမှဝမ်းပိုက်ပုံသဏ္ဍာန်ကြီးတွေ့သွားတယ်တခါတခါဖုံးနေခြင်းရပိတ်နေခြင်းရအများအားဖြင့်တော့ဖုံးနေခြင်းရပိတ်နေခြင်းရပဲသိတယ်စာပိုက်ပါအဲ့ဒါဒုက္ခသစ္စာကိုသိတာမဟုတ်ပါဘူးပညာကိုပဲသိနေတာပါပုံသဏ္ဍာန်ပညာနဲ့အာကာရပညာခေါ်တဲ့မင်းနာကိုသိနေတာပါတကယ် မျက်မှောက်သိရတဲ့တောင်းတလှုပ်ရှားတဲ့တဘာဝအစစ်ကိုဒုက္ခသစ္စာအစစ်ကိုသိတာမဟုတ်ပါဘူးဒီတော့ပညာကဖုံထားတော့ဒုက္ခသစ္စာအစစ်ဖြစ်တဲ့တောင်းတလှုပ်ရှားရည်သွားတယ်မြင်နိုင်ရဲ့မြင်ဖို့ရခဲရင်ဒါမလို့သူဟာနဲ့နေတဲ့သဘောတွေမှာပါနေပါတယ်နဲ့နေတဲ့တရားလို့ဒီလိုဆိုပါတယ်
Sierra explained, as we note this rising and falling, these ultimate nature or the absolute truths are profound or deep-seated to understand, as well it is very difficult to see. Why it is very difficult to see, Sierra explained that though we are asked to note on the rising and falling of the abdomen, in the beginning we will just see the form of the abdomen that is heaving up and down, and later on we will come to see the manners of the movement, and later on only we will come to stiffness, tension, etc. Only when we come to see the stiffness and tension, and at the present moment, then we will come to see Paramatta or the absolute truth. When this Paramatta, the ultimate or the absolute truth, is the real dukkha satya, that is the truth of suffering. So before we are able to pick up this stiffness, tension, etc., whenever we observe from our noting mind, we will be only seeing piñata, that is the conventional truth. Piñati, that is the conventional truth. Only the conventional truth we will be able to pick up from our mind, and we will be able to see the movement or the manners that is going on in our abdomen. So that's why to be able to see the absolute truth is deep-seated. That's why Sierra says it is profound in nature.
အခုလိုတရားအမှတ်ထုတ်ပြီးတဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်တွေကတော့မိမိတို့ရဲ့စိတ်ဟာပုံတန်ထံပညာတဲ့သံဌာနပညာတိနဲ့အာဂရပညာတိနာမပညာတိဒီပေါ်မှာပဲအရောက်များပါတယ်အဖြစ်များပါတယ်အဲ့ဒီပေါ်မှာပဲတင်းနေပါတယ်တကယ်ပရမအစစ်ကိုဖောက်ထွင်းပြီးတော့တည်မြင်တာမရှိပါဘူးသတိပဋ္ဌာန်ဘာဝနာတရားကိုထိရောက်အာမထုတ်သေးဘူးဆိုလို့ရှိရင်သူကိုမတည်သေးပါဘူးပရမအစစ်ကိုဒုက္ခသစ္စာအစစ်ကိုမတည်သေးပါဘူးပညာပေါ်မှာပဲစိတ်ကအတင်များနေတာပါပဲတချို့ကတော့သိတယ်လို့ထင်ပါတယ်မဟုတ်ပါဘူးမတည်သေးပါဘူးပညာကဖုံးထားပါတယ်
For the non-meditators, whenever the mind focuses on any object, their mind will only know the conventional form and shape, the manner and all the verbal names and all these conventional terms. Only when a person is able to note, then when they are in progress and reach to an attentive state, then they will come to understand the nature of Paramatta or absolute truth or ultimate truth. There are some who are in practice, they thought they know Paramatta, the absolute truth, but it is not yet true.
မြင်နိုင်ခဲ့လို့နဲ့နေတဲ့ဒုက္ခသစ္စာအစစ်ကိုဘယ်လိုဖြစ်မှသိနိုင်တယ်လဲဆိုသိတယ်လဲဆိုတော့ဘယ်လိုဖြစ်မှမြင်နိုင်ခဲ့လို့နဲ့နေပြီမယ်လို့ဉာဏ်မှာပေါ်လွင်ထင်ရှားနိုင်တယ်လဲဆိုတာပေါ့ဒီမှာပြထားပါတယ်ပฏิပက္ခဝိကမဏိနာလို့ပြထားပါတယ်ပฏิပက္ခဆန့်ကျင်ဘက်တရားများဝိကမနကင်းကွာခြင်း Sanye betia nyai kinkwa ji. Sanye betia kinkwa ma. Kona nene bimelu, ninegelu nene bimelu. Nyama polu tisha naibare rezuare. Iro take paramasi tukati sara. Tayarigu nyama polu tisha ji. Tadi kimu beloni rabe. Sanye metiyari kimu. Sanye metiyari ga ami afshena ngami beshiware. Di kami chana niwarana. Kawago ayolego luchi memore dabo. Kaunari minyena, jajena, nanyena, sajena, tijena. Kaunari alari be pichena wari. Minyi jajena, sajena wari. Ela kami chana niwarana kawari. Dojo wari chisiyari. Chichena, Chisari Twi solution at a chichin level. Lower if you know, Mosiari Nijana Satiti Dodekaba Mohu Doda one. Say so, Mohu Doda. That do you have chili? There are never Sanye Petibeka Tiawa. Iragulo Kono Sik Dong Yolo Tashin Sinche Mimia Yitwe Juban Yapavo Sika Taiman Pinira No Javon Shu, Tekrawon Shu, Shalawon Shu, Pinti, Pintwe, Iti, Isebo, Da Tinamida Niwanako. Ira Seiko attention which she read count the eye of Macapene City Pianonira Margaret Harry Piani Sinzavido no die ya Pubanira Count the Ayari go Cheney Meluka Milu Sinzavido Lega no die ya Nira the Odija Kokuja knew Patibeka dear Kova Ira the K of Mane Savido Jumata Yari Pinida, Homa Hopamala, Mopamia, Jilimana. Here, great tofu, senior food, Tonta Puri, Chinko Kamido Yan. Here are Ujikisha, Niver, Patibeka Cover, Sanya Metian. Luriva, Ipioni, Kaita Pave, Dari, Kana Yani, the Pinibari. No like Singa Savido, Eladia, the Kubi, the Jawani as well. Manara Kindi, Sanji Messer by Sanji Mele, Lucero Tashimu, Sanji, good to dear Sanji Beba. Eradiga, Mierame, Hanta Taro, Segu, Nina or Pilu Taro, Adinia will level, Arne Chine, Mini or Pilu Taro, the K. Apma, sit. Tukatisa Dialamati, Turia Disalamati, Ba Mamati, you know, Diari, Sanjime Diari, Kima Nenevi Melu, Volunteer Shabari Sudaki, Sanjime Diari, Makilushi, Bapolimatin Shabu body, Nene Diari. Sanjime Diari, Kimma Polu Share, so the Sanjime Diari, Bari less Ratibo Yiji, Kinsula Bale, Kion Peluluminous, Migoni Dema, the Zizani Salava, and I did it Cesar of Punya Piotoma.
So these Dhamma nature, as they are profound or deep-seated, then at what time in our wisdom how we would know. Sayadaw cited the Pali phrase, and Sayadaw says that only when opposing Dhamma nature are eradicated or they were at distance, then deep-seated or the profound nature will reveal to a being. So that means only when your mind is freed from these opposing Dhamma nature, then one would be able to see with one's wisdom of Paramattha or the Absolute Truth. So when as explain these opposing Dhamma nature, the opposing Dhamma nature, what are they? Sayadaw explained, and these are of 5. The first kind is called Kamissanda Nivarana. Nivarana means they are the hindrances. So this number 1 is our craving or desire to all the adorable and lovable objects. That is Kamichanda Nivarana. That means from our sense of seeing, hearing, smell, taste, touch, etc., we always like to encounter with all the pleasurable senses. In summarization, all the attractable or lovable objects, we always crave for them. And second Nivarana or hindrance is called ill will or Vyapada. That ill will is whenever we have to encounter with any negative object, instantly we develop anger, aversion, etc. So mind behavior. Our mind is lethargic and it is lazy and it is clouded with Tinamrita, that is sleepiness and drowsiness. It is not sharp, it is not clever, and we cannot note it properly. So this is the third kind of opposing Dhamma nature or hindrance. And the fourth kind is whenever we remember of the past unwholesomeness in us or akusala, we regret and we have remorse. And sometimes we remember that we have not yet done all the wholesomeness too, then we regret. So in that way we develop Odisha and Kokosa, that is worries and flurries, as a third kind of opposing Dhamma nature. And the fifth kind of opposing Dhamma nature or hindrance is called Vicikesa Nivarana. Vicikesa Nivarana. That is the perplexity or the doubt. Doubt that is this the true Dhamma? Is it a true teaching, etc., etc. So in that way we were having this perplexity as another opposing Dhamma nature. As for all the beings, except from our sleeping hour, as soon as we wake up, only at the sleeping hour our mind is quiet. As soon as we wake up, then our mind is always covered up with these 5 different kinds of nivarana or hindrances. So to eradicate these hindrances mean the opposite nature is we need to clean our mind or purify our mind, and we need to develop all the wholesomenesses in our mind, which is to eradicate the covering up or the opposing Dhamma nature, which is covering your mind and weakening your mind. Because our mind is covered up and weakened with these opposing Dhamma nature, we don't know what is dukkha satya, what is the truth of suffering, and we don't know also what is the truth of the cause of the suffering. So only when we are able to eradicate or freed from these opposing Dhamma nature, then when the opposing Dhamma nature are freed, one would be able to see the profound Dhamma nature. How we are able to see the profound Dhamma nature, Sayadaw will explain now.
Patipeka Wikamana Patipeka Sanjimbe Chusin Tanshin the Kututia Sanjimbe to go Nivarana Lulekova, Nivarana Sora Kututia go Hanta Pisuda Tia through Pini Luci Kututia Pique Maya do a Hanta Pisuta, the level so. Through Pini Leka say her Tanshin Maya. Nhìn ni là ba về quân bỏ đi cảm ơn na về quân cho bà ra đi quân na về ông liền sĩ nhìn nhá ông bỏ mấy phi ông kí ló tết thì đâu chỉ để số upekili sát để số vậy người sĩ thì mới chỉ mình liền chết đã đi tia đi loan mù như được chết đã vào đó, ta mới nói từ cô chỉ để số upekili sát số thao vậy, tin nhang của lẽ vềพิกquyềnไม่ใช่เอามาเลยตัวไปสุดท้ายพิลาดาวมาอีติญญาหาเอมนาอาเนรติญญาเนี่ยพิจารณาตามนั้นปัญญายะดุปลีกรณะเลยพิจารณาก็จะสิบชาวิตติมีเนี่ยติญญาเนี่ยชีเนี่ยเอาอาเนี่ยเอาไว้มันตั้งตัวเอากิโลตัดเดียกิโลโซธาวันที่ไอ้ลิงสกัลโลนี่เนี่ยชุกชัดท่าวัน
The opposing Dhamma nature, they oppose to what kind? They oppose to the purified mind, or they oppose to the kusala or the wholesome mind. So, Sayadaw explained Nivarana, the hindrance in English, means they prevent all the wholesomenesses, or they block, or they hindered these wholesomenesses not to arise. In other words, they are impure, and because they are impure or dirtied, there is no chance to develop purity in one's mind. So whenever the mind is covered up with these hindrances, whatever the nature may be, whether one arises with kamishana, craving to sensual pleasures, or maybe sloth and torpor at times too, whatever the nature may be, then that mind is covered up with nivarana or hindrances. That's why we do not have the clarity of mind. Why we do not have the clarity of mind means our mind is covered up with all these opposing Dhamma nature. So as they block not to develop any wholesomeness in mind or clarity of mind, they prevent or they weaken so as not to develop any kind of analytical or differentiative truth of the knowledges. So that's why in the literature, Sayadaw explained, these kind of opposing nature they are weakening one's mind. They are making the mind not to be strong. So in that way, they were disparaged.
အဲ့ဒီတရားစိုးတွေစိတ်စင်မှာစိတ်ဖြစ်စင်မှာလွှမ်းမိုးနေတယ်မြတ်ဖြည့်စည်းနေတဲ့ကာလပတ်လုံးမြင်နိုင်ကြလို့နေနေတဲ့တရားတွေဟာနေမြဲနေနေတာပါပဲနဲ့နေပြီဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ဘယ်တော့မှမပေါ်လွင်တော့ပါဘူးစုပါကတလည်းဖြစ်တော့ပါဘူးအဲ့တော့သူတို့လွှမ်းမိုးဖြည့်စည်းနှိမ့်ဆက်လို့မြင်နိုင်ကြလို့နေနေတဲ့တရားတွေနေမြဲနေပြီးတော့မပေါ်လွင်ဘူးလို့ဆိုတဲ့ဖြင့်သူတို့ကင်းကွာသွားလို့ရှိရင်တော့ပေါ်လွင်နေဆိုတဲ့အဓိပ္ပာယ်ပေါ့သူတို့ကင်းကွာသွားမှပေါ်လွင်နေဆိုတဲ့အဓိပ္ပာယ်တက်ရောက်ပါတယ်ဒါကြောင့်ကံမီတော်ဘိဓမ္မောတိစေယတရားတွေဟာ Peziatia Minegelu Nenevi Melu Sanji Betiari Kinkwa Tuama Tomo Kinkwa Jinjao Tupagata Nyama Poluti Sanai Babi Sure Zagari Masua Vare
In the line of our consciousness, these ultimate Dhamma nature are very difficult to see as they are deep-seated and as because they are so profound means they are not revealed to your mind. Then when we are able to eradicate these covering up opposing Dhamma nature, then that means one has come to see the profound Dhamma nature or revealing all the truth. So Sayadaw explained that because this is hard to see, difficult to see, means if these opposing Dhamma nature are able to be eradicated, these profound Dhamma nature, however they are hard to be seen, but if these opposing Dhamma nature are expelled or dispelled, then it will reveal to one.
Titiazuriga Yotu Mialo Kala Yuliolushi, Tonga Mialushi, Bombe Yumbi now so Tomia at Tivoli. A little piecito at the Tiari Mahopabu. Polo da sola never. Tubatu Luria Yotu swimming video. Piecito and Doda, edited of Mahopu. Titiaru di Ukamana, Kenya Melo Soro Bane Sabiro Kenya Vale, Baloluchi, Kenya in the Lesson. Daliti Uluni Vale, Erago Sabiro Patipeka Ukamana Bana Sama Patipati Patipata, Yusura Kuna Sanyembe Tayasu Kinkwa Musuraha King Dwara, King Dwara, Jok Dwara, Ane Dwara, or the Yin Dwara, Lusulaware, Kingwa Musura Hare Sama Patipati Patipata Sama Nilanja Patipati Chendonje Nilanja Chendonje Patipata Sesali Sini Tesovare Nilanja Chendonje Sesali Sini Nilanja Chendoma Sanyametiari Kina in the Lusulaware is out young Janjibo Nilanja Machin Doloshi Nilanja TV Melu, Nidi Melu, Machin Doloshi Titiari, Titani, Makimus, Yavada Tiro Titiari Kinkwa Mustawa I never your Babylon also Nimusura Nilanja Gentom Tamapti Pati Sesani.
Sayadaw explained these Dhamma nature or the opposing Dhamma nature are not the materiality as we are using every day. All the materiality that will wean off and they will destroy or they rotten or they will decay. But it is not like that. If we are unable to eradicate these opposing Dhamma nature, then they will be piling up in ourselves time and again more and more. So that's why it is important to eradicate is with what kind or how are we going to eradicate these opposing Dhamma nature. To these opposing Dhamma nature, first we must do it to weaken and then later to lessen and at one time to be able to exterminate or eradicate. So with what kind of practice or with what connective nature, when one one will come to understand the real truth is we need to practice methodically or meticulously or properly. So only with proper practice, in connected with this proper practice, one will come to understand all the Dhamma nature of the ultimate truth will revealed to you. So Sarah explained, even though we understand the real method, how it is methodically we need to practice, but if we do not practice too, we do not come to understand the ultimate truth. So in other words, if we don't practice, we won't know this absolute truth at all. So in summarization, that is to come to understand the absolute truth, we must practice methodically as we should do. Only connected with this systematic practice, the nature of the absolute truth will reveal to you, so that all these opposing Dhamma nature will become weak and lessen, and at one time we will be able to eradicate.
Jini ma ti ni bi melu ti boyari mashulu shi lebe mati babu. Jini ma mati bu ne ti boyari mati bu. Belo lobi do chop she ya ma do sura boli. Dale do la bare. Jini ma ya mati da lila jana pe chop. Lila pe chop. Pidiveka kore sanyi me tiyari wari dari kingkwa yi etwe kingkwa si nainde nilang wari eraga pari le sura wari mati tida shibare eri mati hu pe chok pipo de lo ba di de basmada baluwa ma le era lela bi do chok piya Lila chok de suraga Sichaya Siari Ziga Jana Lila Yame Swini Lila Yame Sichaya Saudi Pabido Jishu Lila Yame Jishu Lila Lele Shi Niwala King Dwe Nilanja Dilojia the Go Sarabodi Kini Mali Hati Twada Rabale Jini Maya Madida Lila Pechau is it so Yosaga Shibare.
If one doesn't know the right method, or if one knows the method, but if not practiced too, then one cannot understand the truth of the nature. But how are we going to eradicate these opposing Dhamma nature is important. So before this, if we don't study anything, we are ignorant, we don't know anything. So to eradicate, to weaken first, and then in the end to eradicate all these opposing Dhamma nature, it is very important to listen, to have the learned knowledge. That is, we must read the books, we must listen from the appropriate teachers, we must discuss about it. So only then we will have a good guidance how we are going to eradicate these nivarana, or how we are going to practice to dispel these hindrances. Only when the knowing is right, then we will come to see the right nature.
So the wing I took it I go rega people them ya the yari ha dugatisa see mandiari give jogibare. Erari ha tipuya teya tisaya teya tia me teya shuma pido tia me teya de solo vale. အဲ့ဒီလိုတရားတွေကိုသူတို့ဖြစ်စေလိုက်ပြီးတော့မရှုရင်မသိဘူးဒါမရှုလို့မသိတဲ့သဘောကိုတော့ရှုမှတ်ပြီးတော့သိဖို့ဒါသိအရေးကြီးပါတယ်ကိုရီးယားသိစရာပေါ်တိုင်းပေါ်တယ်ရှုမှတ်ပြီးတော့သိဖို့ဒါရှုမှတ်ပြီးတော့ရှုမှတ်လို့သိပြီဆိုလို့ရှိရင်အဲ့ဒါကြီးကျင်းသွားတာပဲဒါမလို့သိပွဲရမသိတာရှုကပယ်ဖြောက်တယ်လို့ဆိုစကားပြုထားပါတယ်
As in the beginning of the discourse, as Sayadaw explained, whatever happens in your body, then or in you, then all these are as a whole, we should understand as this is dukkha satya, this is the truth of suffering. Then to come to understand the truth of suffering, we should practice methodically to come to know or to perceive the truth or to come to understand the truth. So if we don't perceive or observe, we don't know at all. But if we observe or note, we will come to know. So that's why to come to understand the truth means that is the way to dispel nivarana or hindrances.
တိပ္ပယယတိပ္ပကတော့ဖြစ်တိုင်းမှတ်ရှုသတိပြုစောင့်မှုအစဉ်ထားဆိုတာဆိုရရှိပါတယ်ဘုရားမြတ်စွာကတခုရည်သောအဆောက်အအုံရှိသူဖြစ်နေရမယ်လို့ဒီလိုဆိုလိုပါတယ်တခုရည်သောအဆောက်အအုံရှိသူဆိုတာကဒီသာသနာတော်မှာမြတ်စွာဘုရားအဆုံးအမသာသနာတော်မှာတန်တရားဘေးကိုကြောက်ပြီးတော့တန်တရားဘေးကလွတ်မြောက်လို့တဲ့ယောဂီပုဂ္ဂိုလ်ဟာတတိအဆောက်အအုံပါတဲ့စိတ်နဲ့ပြည့်စုံပြီးတော့နေရမယ်တတိအဆောက်အအုံကာကွယ်ရှိတဲ့စိတ်နဲ့ပြည့်စုံနေရမယ်ဒါစာအဆိုပါတေတို့အတိတ်ပဲကတော့ဖြစ်တိုင်းမှတ်ရှုနေရမယ်ဒါဆိုလိုတာပါပဲဖြစ်တိုင်းမှတ်ရှုနေရမယ်ဖြစ်တိုင်းသတိထားမယ်ဖြစ်တိုင်းဆိုတာမြင်တိုင်းကြားတိုင်းနားတိုင်းစားတိုင်းထိတိုင်းသိတိုင်းပေါင်းတိုင်းပေတိုင်းကိုယ်တိုင်းဆန်းတိုင်းစောင်းတိုင်းငယ်တိုင်းကြွားတိုင်းနားတိုင်းခြားတိုင်းစားတိုင်းအဲ့ဒါတွေကိုဆိုပါတယ်အဲ့ဒါဟာတခုတည်းသောအဆောက်အအုံရှိသူပါပဲတခုတည်းသောအဆောက်အအုံရှိသူဆိုတာအဆောက်အအုံပါတဲ့တတိအဆောက်အအုံပါတဲ့စိတ်နဲ့ပြည့်စုံသူတေတို့ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ဖြစ်တိုင်းမှတ်ရှုအဲ့ဒါတခုတည်းသောအဆောက်အအုံရှိတယ်လို့ဆိုပါတယ်
To come to understand means, Sayadaw cited the phrase, and that is to observe to all the present occurrences. That means we need to have one kind of guardianship in us. That Sayadaw explained in accordance with our Buddhist teaching or in Buddhist sasana, whomsoever are so afraid to go wrong in the cycle of rebirth and death, then we need to have one guardianship. That one guardian is none other than sati or mindfulness. So Sayadaw says if he has to say it directly means keep your mind to the present occurrences. These present occurrences mean whenever we see, hear, smell, taste, touch, or rising, falling, lifting, stepping, etc. All these things, if we are mindfully watching or observing, then one could say that this person is staying in with mindfulness or sati. So, as a direct meaning means, we have to observe to all the present occurrences.
တတိအဆောက်အအုံရှိရမယ်လို့ဆိုရမှာတတိတစ်ခုတည်းနဲ့တော့မဆွမ်းဆောင်နိုင်ပါဘူးတတိကိုကောင်းတက်ပြီးတော့သူ့ကို ပရဏပြုပြီးတော့ဆိုထားတဲ့သဘောပါသူရဲ့ဒီအပေါင်းဖော်အချွေရန်နေရှိပါသေးတယ်တတိဖြစ်ရေးအတွက်ရှိဦးစွာအာယုန်နဲ့မတ်စိတ်နဲ့တဲ့အောင်ရွယ်စုတဲ့သဘောပါရပါတယ်စံသဘောကိုစံသဘောပါရတယ်ရွယ်စုတာအဲ့ဒါလည်းပါရမရွယ်စုလို့ရှိရှုခွင်းနဲ့ရှုမှတ်တဲ့စိတ်နဲ့မတည့်တဲ့ဖို့လည်းလိုတာဟုတ်တယ်ပြီးတော့ရောက်အောင်လည်းပဲအားစိတ်ဖို့လည်းလိုတယ်အားစိတ်တာကဝိရိယခေါ်ပါတယ်ဓမ္မသမ္မာဝါယမလို့လည်းဆိုနိုင်ပါတယ်ဓမ္မခုနကရွယ်စုတာကတော့သမ္မာသင်္ကပ္ပဆိုပါတယ်ဓမ္မသမ္မာသင်္ကပ္ပကသူကဇန်သဘောရှိပါတယ်ဓမ္မရွယ်စုပြီးတော့ရှုခွင်းအာယုရှုမှတ်တဲ့စီရောက်အောင်အားစိတ်ရပါတယ်အဲ့ဒီစိတ်ဆွမ်းနှစ်ခုပြည့်စုံရပါတယ်အဲ့ဒီစိတ်ဆွမ်းနှစ်ခုပြည့်စုံလို့ရှိရင်တတိအစောက်အရှောက်ပေါ်လာတော့တာပါပဲ
Although Sayadaw have to say this sati or mindfulness as a leader of a mind quality, though it